Hi, this is Kelly Natt of the Core Research Team, and I'll be reviewing Section 6, Structured Data Submissions for the 2020 World Classroom Survey. In this section, we have 9 questions covering approaches, costs, and resource requirements related to the management of existing and upcoming structured data submissions. I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these questions to give you an understanding of what we're looking for. Now, the first 2 questions in this section are related to existing structured data submission requirements. Question 33 is asking for the status of your capabilities in support of these structured data submission requirements that exist today, which are listed down here on the side. And across the top are the types of solutions that you may have in place in order to meet these requirements. Now, you'll also notice that you can select more than one item per row, and the reason for this is because we recognize that you may be utilizing more than one of these approaches at a time. So, for example, you may be manually populating an internal tool or a system and generating your structured data submissions directly from that. You may be making that submission electronically directly from that tool, in which case you would select only this column for any particular item here. But you may be generating that structured data submission content and turning that over to an external vendor who makes that submission on your behalf. Or you may be entering that directly into a health authority portal or tool, and in which case you would select 2 of these items in this row. So for each of these, please select what's relevant to you for the solution that you have in place for these existing structured data submission requirements. Moving on to question 34, here we're looking for some specific information about how you're handling XEV-MPD third acknowledgement records, which come back from the EMA after they quality review XEV-MPD records that have been submitted. So you can see there are several options here. If you have any additional comments, please feel free to share them below. From question 35 through the rest of this section, we're looking at future upcoming structured data submission requirements and how you're preparing for those. Question 35 is asking specifically what initiatives you may have in place to prepare for upcoming structured data submission requirements as listed here, and the time frame for those plans. In question 36, we're looking for a little bit more about the strategies that you may be employing in order to prepare for all of the structured data submission requirements that are upcoming. And what we've listed here are strategies that we've been hearing about from various companies over time, and are some of the common strategies that are being considered or employed by companies as they prepare for the upcoming submission requirements. But we recognize this is not a complete list, and we're interested in understanding what strategies companies may have developed internally on their own that they're employing as the basis for the implementation of any systems or processes that they're establishing in order to prepare for structured data submissions. So we would ask that you select any of these that are relevant to you, and please also share with us any additional strategies that you are employing as you're implementing solutions and processes in preparation for these structured data submissions. Question 37 is fairly straightforward, so I'm going to move on to question 38 and question 39. This is essentially the same question, but in question 38 we're asking about the EU IDMP SPORE initiative, and in question 39 we're asking about UDIMED. And specifically here we're looking to understand what your estimate is of how many months it will take for you to be fully ready to make compliant submissions to EMA for, in the case of question 38, EU IDMP SPORE, and in 39, UDIMED. And I'm just going to open this comment, which shows you what the values are of this drop-down box. So you can see we've got sort of ranges here of 6 to 3 to 6, 7 to 12, 13 to 18, etc. Please select the range that is most represents what you anticipate that time frame is going to be for you to be able to be prepared. Question 40 turns attention to the costs that you anticipate you'll be incurring in order to be prepared for, in question 40, EU IDMP SPORE, and in question 41, UDIMED. So it's the same as what we've done above, the same question here for IDMP SPORE and for UDIMED. And just to be clear about what costs we're looking for you to include here, we've got a note that specifies what things you should be taking into consideration. So we're looking for software, external consultant and contractor, external service provider, and data remediation and migration costs. We know that some companies do zero-based budgeting in which they will include internal resource costs in their budgets. We want to make sure that we've got numbers that are all based on the same foundation. So we are asking that you not include any internal resource costs in the estimates that you include here. We have two lines here. One is for the total dollars that you've spent so far. And the second line is for the additional dollars that you expect to spend between now and project completion. Now, a note on this, we're saying dollars. That is again so that we can have a consistent currency to base comparisons on from the aggregate data that we're bringing in. And so we ask you to provide those estimates in dollars. We also want to just highlight the fact that all the survey data is blinded. So I know some companies may be uncomfortable in sharing budget data, budget plans, but we want to make sure that you understand that this data is blinded and will not be shared with anyone. So hopefully that will help you feel a little bit more comfortable in sharing that data if that's something that your company might be uncomfortable in doing. One more thing I want to point out before I show you what the values are in these drop downs is we've got cost estimates, and then we're also asking for a level of confidence in that cost estimate. Particularly for the future spend, we are interested in understanding whether you've got a high confidence, a medium confidence, or a low confidence. So now I will show you the values of these drop downs. The first is the cost estimate drop down, so you can see the ranges that we've established. They're fairly broad ranges because we understand that there's not necessarily a lot of detail that you may have in understanding what those costs are. So we've established some fairly broad ranges that give us a good understanding of what the kind of general expectation of cost is going to be. And then this is the values in the drop down for level of confidence and estimate. Now, we would expect that your total spend to date estimate is going to be high because it's a fact. But the reason we have this value is because we know that you may not be clear about what your future spend may be. And so that's really what this level of confidence is meant to cover. And it's the same for question 41, which is for UTMN. So that's it for the guidance for this new section. We're really excited to see the results. And if you have any other questions that are not covered in your Fast Facts document, there are ways to get in touch with the core research team, and we will be happy to help. Thank you so much, and good luck.